It's my ex-husband's fault that I'm this way. It's my mother's fault. This doesn't feel right. That's the body sending signals back to the brain. And if you respond to that thought as if it's true, that thought is going to lead to the same choice, which is going to lead to the same behavior, it's going to create the same experience, and it's going to produce the same familiar feeling called you, and you're going to say, this feels right. It feels familiar. You see, going from the old self to the new self is the neurological, is the biological, is the chemical, the hormonal, genetic death of the old self. People who say to me, I'm in the river of change, I'm in the unknown, I'm in this void, I can't predict my future. I always say the same thing to them. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Not from the known, but from the unknown. What thoughts do you want to fire and wire in your brain? You can't wait for your wealth to feel abundance. You can't wait for your success to feel empowered. You can't wait for the mystical moment to feel awe. You can't wait for your new relationship to feel love, or your new job to feel gratitude. That's the old model of reality, of cause and effect. Waiting for something outside of you to change how you feel inside of you. When you feel differently inside of you, you pay attention to whoever or whatever caused that. And that event in and of itself is called a memory. To wait for our environment to give us relief. But the quantum model of reality is about causing an effect. Which means when you feel whole, you begin to heal. When you feel empowered, you're going to be successful. When you're worthy enough, you'll feel abundant. When you are in love with life and in love with yourself, you will find an equal, or it will find you. And when you are in awe of the moment, the mystical is going to bless you in a way that you never anticipated. And when you are in a state of gratitude, your job is on the way. That's causing an effect. And by the way, what is the emotional signature of gratitude? Don't you give thanks when you get something or you receive something? So then, what if you were to begin to give thanks or feel thanks before it manifested? Would your body, as the unconscious mind, believe it's in the future experience in the present moment? Because gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. And so, we don't pray in our work to have our prayers answered. We get up as if our prayers are already answered. It is that state of mind and body that I know that requires a clear intention and an elevated emotion. And the clear intention is an act of the mind and the brain, and an elevated emotion is when you open your heart. When you combine those two elements, you just moved from living in your past to living in your future. So then, here's the question. Can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the experience has already occurred? And can you fall in love with a future potential that already exists in the quantum field? And how many potentials exist in the quantum field? Infinite potentials in the quantum field. Can you select a new potential in the quantum field and emotionally embrace that future reality before it's made manifest to such degree that your body, as the unconscious mind, is believing it's living in that future reality in the present moment, and you're signaling new genes in new ways? If there's physical evidence in your brain and body to look like the experience has already happened, there's evidence there physically. By thought alone, relax, because the experience is going to find you.
But it all begins with you, and it all begins inside of you, and it all begins with your mind, and it all begins with your unconscious mind. For most people, they're going to see lack and limitation, partly because it's already been programmed in them, partly because they're paying attention to the mainstream media. And I tell people a big tip: turn off the mainstream media.
And why do you say that?
Because it is programming you. It's called programming you for a reason. It's programming you for lack and limitation. It knows your hot buttons. It knows what you're afraid of. It is going to focus on that. It is going to highlight that. And if mainstream news can't find something bad that happened today in London, it'll go find it in Texas. Select the information. You're feeding your brain, you're feeding your soul, you're feeding your unconscious, subconscious mind. Select it with some sort of wisdom and discernment, so you program yourself for this abundant life. So they both exist. You have to have the awareness that when you were growing up, and I don't mean you in particular, your parents probably did not have an abundant attitude. I tell people your parents probably were not enlightened. They were probably not Mr. and Mrs. Buddha. You know, they probably had their own hang-ups, their own programming, their own lack, their own limitation. They downloaded it to you. You were a kid. You didn't know any better. Then you go into the culture, you go into the media, you go into the education system, and it's not programming you for survival. It's programming you for survival. It's not programming you for thriving, for excelling. And so at some point, if you're lucky, you see a movie like The Secret, you read a book, maybe by me or one of the other authors out there. You see a show like this, and suddenly there's an aha. Suddenly you awaken and you go, oh, maybe life can be different. Maybe I don't have to see lack everywhere. Maybe I can see abundance. So to me, there's an optical illusion. They're both available. You get to choose.
And how can I practice that state of abundance? Is that through an affirmations?
Yeah, I love that question.
You know,
oh, I can talk to you forever.
a few basic ways, you know, because also a lot of people watching us will say, Joe, Brian, if I look at a street and someone else looks at the street, it's the same street, it's the same people, it's the same. A lot of people will not understand that actually they'll pull all of these cultural dialogues, personal dialogues, and they'll see the things they want to see to continue that scarcity mentality.
That's right. They're going to see it unconsciously. It's going to be coming from the paradigm they already have, the mindset they already have, which is in their subconscious/unconscious. So when they look, they're looking consciously, not realizing what they're seeing is being filtered by the unconscious. So when you change that bottom line programming, what's underneath the software, you're going to see something different. So here's the best technique. It's a technique that comes from 1900, from the book Pollyanna. It's called Play the Glad Game. And the glad game is you look for something good. Just start looking for something good. The rule of thumb is there is something good in everybody and in every situation. And there are some people and some situations that will challenge you. But you've got to focus, you got to look, and you got to say there's something good here. But if you stay with it, you're going to start seeing the good everywhere. That's a simple, easy, doesn't cost anything, begin it right now, way of using a technique to start to move into abundance.